It's the wind that has really started to pick up this morning, Matt.
It is crazy strong. We're starting to get gusts up to 40 miles per hour now. That's nothing compared to the afternoon. But it's going to be very breezy downtown for that St. Patrick's Day parade, which is about noon.
Make sure you got your hat on with a strap tied up under your chin so it doesn't go blowing away.
Double knotted and everything. But the crazy part is, for a severe thunderstorm warning, you have to hit 58 miles per hour. We may do that today, but without the thunderstorm.
Okay.
Super. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. I guess we're grateful that we're only getting the wind, but it feel like storm type.
It will feel like a storm type gust for sure. And speaking of winds, more in a circular fashion, we had more tornado confirmations coming in from the National Weather Service that I do want to show you. We're going to start in northwest Indiana. EF3 confirmed now completely, coming from Kankakee into Newton County and then far northwestern Jasper County. EF2 for the Stark County tornado. So there was a gap for a little bit between these tornadoes. They're still going to be looking a little bit in northern Jasper County, but these are two tornadoes completely with their surveys confirmed. And then Jay County had a touchdown, a brief one. EF0 on the ground for 3 minutes just south of Red Key. It was headed north and east towards Portland. This would be it would be Jay County. It'd be junior, senior high school there on the kind of the west side. So it was kind of moving northeast, but it was able to pick up. So that's some good news. We were following this on Channel 13 if you were watching there Wednesday. All right, the weather is not taking a break. I mean, it took a break yesterday, thank goodness. But today it is back and we have active weather through the weekend. Right now we have some clouds passing on by with 40s. Everything looks fine until you look at the wind and then you look at the camera shaking out there. I mean, this thing is tied down. This camera is. And we're already getting gusts that are now above 30 miles per hour. Let's go through some numbers this morning. 40s. Feeling like the 30s out there this morning with the wind chill. We have sustained winds now in the 20s for most of us, sustained at 29 in Greencastle and 27 in Bedford. But then you factor in the gusts. We've just now hit 40 mile per hour gusts there at the Indianapolis airport. So it is super breezy this morning. Wind alerts are now in effect. High wind warnings north and east of the city with gusts up to 60 miles per hour. And Indy, they could be up to 50 miles per hour. We're already up to 40 right now. So it's going to be a breezy day today. And speaking of the wind, I want to talk about traffic this morning because the biggest concern today will be that crosswind, and different interstates will be impacted at different times. So what's happening is where you have a good south wind out there this morning, but around lunchtime it'll start switching directions and come out of the west for the rest of the afternoon. So some interstates are fine. You might have a tailwind for a second kind of pushing along, or maybe a headwind depending on which way you're going. But right now there is a tough crosswind on I-70 and I-74. So we'll keep a close eye there. But then with that west wind later today, interstates like 65 and 69 will be impacted and parts of 465. So just hold on today. This is a live look outside by Greenwood. Traffic's moving fine on 65 this morning. Julia.
Thank you, Matt. This morning, there is a death investigation that is unfolding in Hamilton County.
We first brought you this at 11 last night as breaking news. Want to show you some video from this scene. This is near Shady Nook and Westfield roads. Police say they found a man inside of a home here in Westfield around 7:30 last night.
Now, they haven't shared how he died, but they say there were signs of trauma. And police are considering this death suspicious, so very early on in the investigation, and we'll update you as police share more.
And this morning, IMPD tells us they're looking for the person who shot and killed a man on the city's east side. Officers say they found the man in a car on DeCamp Drive near 38th and Post Road yesterday afternoon. Homicide detectives are now leading the investigation. Now, they've not shared anything about a possible suspect or motive, but if you have any information that could help the investigation, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers or IMPD. And this morning, we're looking into the newly announced and sometimes controversial partnership between the state of Indiana and Turning Point USA.
Yeah, that's the conservative student group started by Charlie Kirk, the political activist who was assassinated last year. And Marina Silva is in studio this morning with what this means for students and kind of how this is having, a back and forth discussion, Marina.
Absolutely. The governor welcomes Turning Point USA, announcing his support for what he says is a victory for freedom of speech in all Indiana schools. The governor has commended the work of the student programs for Turning Point USA. Their website describes the organization as an advocate of conservative views, including limited government, free markets, and freedom. Governor Braun says the partnership is not about political favoritism, but about making sure everyone is able to express their own views. According to Turning Point, right now, there are 34 chapters at Indiana colleges and 65 high school chapters. In an email to 13 News, Turning Point said there were instances where schools had denied students or created obstacles for students wanting to form chapters. While the governor is happy about this partnership, not everybody is.
We're not saying you've got to do it. We're just saying you're going to have the ability.
This is using the state's power, platform, and credibility to preference one politically ideological agenda over any others.
That email said Turning Point had communicated those cases to both the governor and Attorney General's office. The Attorney General's office says they're working with students to address specific concerns. Now, Thursday's announcement comes on the heels of another announcement from the Secretary of State. So coming up at 6:30, I'll share what that announcement is and what people are thinking about that one as well.
And that one involves Turning Point USA
Yes,
as well?
that one is another Turning Point USA with the Secretary of State.
See you then, Marina. Thank you.
Well, IPS is expecting a $7 million funding reduction, they say, across the district for the upcoming school year.
IPS says it's a result of having some funding challenges because of policy changes and less students enrolling. The district says it's basing this funding for each school on individual enrollment numbers. Now, IPS didn't give us a breakdown of how each school will be impacted by these cuts, but the superintendent, Alicia Johnson, did say principals will be notifying families if there are significant changes coming to your child's school.
So the district did say it's also looking at whether to propose an operating referendum for voters in November, and then funding from that referendum that passed in 2018, it expires this year.
Terrorism investigations this morning are underway in 2 states.
This comes after attacks at a Virginia university and a Michigan synagogue. In Virginia, we know 1 person is dead and 2 others injured after a shooting at Old Dominion University. Our sister station in Norfolk reports the suspected shooter walked into an ROTC class and shot the instructor and 2 others. Their names have not yet been released. The FBI says ROTC students on campus killed the suspected shooter. Investigators say the suspect was a previous National Guardsman himself who once served prison time for supporting ISIS.
Well, a car crashed into a synagogue in West Bloomfield, Michigan yesterday morning, and investigators say that shots were fired after the crash. And the car caught fire after something ignited. It's not clear what that is, and the suspected shooter was killed. The Department of Homeland Security says the driver was a U.S. citizen originally from Lebanon. He was the only person killed in this incident, but it was a large response. 31st responders went to the hospital for inhaling smoke, but are expected to be okay.
And now leaders, of course, within the Jewish community are reacting and concerned about this violence.
Even here at home, local law enforcement are now stepping up to up the security at synagogues here in Indy. Anna Chalker is in studio with more on those efforts. Good morning, Anna.
Good morning, ladies. And because of what happened there in Michigan, you will see more police and security at our local synagogues and community centers. But some of those leaders hope that people see past that and they still feel encouraged to come in and be together with the congregation. And they say that attack hits home. And it's just an example of how anti-Semitism is on the rise here in the country. Local synagogues, including the Indianapolis Hebrew congregation, they're a part of a secure community network. It's a national effort focused on safety and allows those here to be in touch with others around the country. And the interim CEO of the Jewish Federation of Greater Indianapolis says this attack will be felt in every Jewish community.
And when you attack the Jewish Community Center, you're attacking not just the Jewish community, you're attacking the Indianapolis community. And we want to protect everybody who comes to our institutions, whether they're Jewish or not.
IMPD is also working with them here, saying with anyone who witnesses or experiences acts of hate should report that to police immediately. They're just trying to make sure everyone feels comfortable in these situations because they know a lot of heightened emotions now. But with those heightened emotions, both here and nationally, a lot of these Jewish communities just wanting people to come together. So they are going to share their values and their messages coming up, kind of what they're hoping people move forward in the next couple of days.
Yeah, it's still heartbreaking to think of those communities and the fact that they have to step up security in this way. Thank you, Anna.